Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe. Share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now, this could end up being a very long episode because there is a lot of stuff to kind of get through. But I am actually going to skirt over several cards that did happen last night. And apologies to anyone who, was looking to hear about those cards or the stuff that was happening on those cards. So the GBM card in Sheffield, I'm literally kind of going on in the background just here. I saw that Levi Giles and Kashat's Fak got a it looked like a majority decision draw or split decision draw. Unfortunate for them. I do know that Danny Quartermain and Bateson had I think it was a technical decision after the second round. One had a horrendous cut over the eye and the other one had a horrendous cut on the top of the head, and the referee called a halt to it after the second. So they both said they're going to run that back. So yeah, that's kind of all I can say about that one. In terms of Konstantin Ursu, who I was interested to see on the undercard of the Crocker and Papadopoulos fight, yeah, I haven't watched that either. Can't really talk about it. Not going to talk about the Kubrat Pulev card except that actual fight. So actually, you know what? Let me kind of talk about that fight there and how that kind of pans out into other things. Long story short, the prediction stuck. Kubrat Pulev won via a unanimous decision, which is kind of as I expected it to be. I did say that he'll just pretty much try and control this fight, but behind the jab. The backhand won't cause any huge problems to Manuel Charr. Like Kubrat Pulev doesn't have a very strong backhand, so it's very hard for him to kind of get knockouts at anything above scrub level. But he does have a very strong and a very solid jab. It's hard. It times it well. It's accurate, it's correct, and it is a tool that he can use to control and to sort of keep opponents honest, except for the ones that are above the European level. That's always where he comes a cropper. But Manuel Charr is not of that ilk. I heard on the broadcast they were saying, third time lucky, third time attempt at a world title. We all know it's the regular, so the regular doesn't mean anything. But, if you parlay the regular into a potential consolidation bout, it is possible to do, especially if you've fought once you've defended it 3 times, I think you are then able to ask for a consolidation with the super champ at WBA. I doubt he'll have it for 3 defenses, but that is a potential outcome for him to go past if that's what he wants to do. But the reason I even bring that fight up, looking at that fight, looking at what it means, and looking at the whole trajectory that Moses Atuma wanted to have in terms of being the youngest ever heavyweight champion in the world, I'm sure he wasn't really thinking about regular titles when he said that. But it's a moniker, it's a marketing tool. It is something that I'm sure that they will try to lie to the fans and promote as a legit world title of sorts, even though we know that the only legit world champions at the moment are, Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. Although realistically, we're all just going to say it's Alexander Usyk because he beat Dubois already, ain't lost no belts in the ring. But with that being said, I believe that should Moses Atuma get through Dempsey McKean on the 21st of December, Kubrat Pulev will be his next opponent. Whether they do it in Riyadh, and they overpay Kubrat Pulev to take him to Riyadh to do it, or whether Frank Warren and Francis Warren and George Warren, they just massively overpay Kubrat Pulev to come over to the UK to fight. I think that he will do what he can to make sure that Moses kind of gets that belt and gets that trajectory, especially as he's starting to come out of his shell a bit more now with the media. That's the market employee that they look for. Then they can just kind of keep him on the baby belt route and trail just for about a year or 2 while the rest of the belts just start to fragment, split up, and then you kind of just start collecting belts that way and going through the division. I think that's what's going to happen, and I don't blame them for doing that either, especially with Moses still not even being 20 years old yet. It makes total sense that you do that. while obviously also maybe satisfying the British title, the European, just getting those experience, all those different looks, and then, you know, cementing yourself up at world level, like in about 2 years from now, 2-3 years. And that's kind of my thoughts of what will happen there. Right, moving to the Magnificent Seven card. Now, I didn't see the card right from the start. I was watching football. I was watching Manchester United, Nottingham Forest. Maybe I should have saved myself the headache to do so, but you know, it is what it is. Now, I tuned in from the Alois Jr. versus Lewis Oakford fight, and then I actually went downstairs to go and order some food for the night, and I come upstairs and the fight's over. So, but I knew Alois would win that. I didn't put it in the predictions. I didn't think it was necessary, but I think we all kind of knew how that fight was playing out. Now, the place where I have to say that I normally, even if I get things wrong, is like I might get the methods right, or I might get how I feel the fight's going to play out, but then just one person, something different happens in it. This is the first time I think I've got something spectacularly wrong, like from start to finish, because ultimately I tried to see the good in Solomon Dacus. I tried to think, okay, from a stylistic point of view, he's got the style that should actually beat someone like a David Adelaide, someone that, you know, is more of a hangback. He's gonna try to box and he's gonna try to bang, whereas a guy who is a pure boxer is not going to give them the options. He's going to look to stick behind the jab and just try to sort of stay out of range. Well, that didn't happen. First, I don't know, for instance, why Solomon Dacus didn't stick to what he usually would be doing, which is staying right on the outside of range. He was standing more mid-range to inside, but outside of that, I've seen from ages ago, I mean, look, from about 2 years ago, I said that Solomon Dacus was not meant for this. Like, you could tell that he wasn't it. He had two performances recently where I looked at and said, okay, I can see the seed of an idea here. And I think that, especially the fact that obviously with David, like, he's pulled out of the fight on two separate occasions where that fight was supposed to happen. So I just thought, okay, something's not quite right there. There's a confidence thing possibly, plus 14 months outside the ring. This other guy's been active. He should be able to, he probably is going to get this on points, or like I said, a very late stoppage potentially if David starts to gas, like throwing the big shots, can't really land anything clean, and he hasn't been the distance, whereas Dacus has been the distance on numerous occasions. Well, yes, I was spectacularly wrong, because not only did David Adelaide not let it get to those mid to even later rounds, he didn't even let it get out of the first round. And the worst thing about it is the shot that he threw that caught Sol Dacus. It was a shot that you could see him winding up from before. It's not like that was the first time he threw the shot. He threw that shot with no setup, no setting it up. He telegraphed that same shot twice before in the round. And then you get caught with it on the third time. Not only do you get caught, you don't even get caught with it clean. You literally, it grazes the top of your head, but there's that much force in it that it scrambles you. Now, should the referee have stopped it at the moment he did? That is one thing I'm not sure of. And I will say that I'm going to give him a little bit of consideration there. Yes, he looked unsteady kind of on the ground, but that's why you have a 10 count. Some people, the equilibrium's gone a little bit. Okay, then they get up. You look at them as they get up. Okay, no, this ain't good. Wave it off. But he's scrambling to get up off of the floor, but you can see that the senses are still there to a degree. And the referee basically, I think he jumped in before he even went to a four count. So I do think in that sense, that may have been very premature from the referee, especially considering that the punch didn't even really land clean. It was a glancing blow. As soon as he got up, he looked okay. He looked a bit shaken, but he looked fine. He was standing. He wasn't wobbling about. So yeah, on that sense, fine. I won't say that I agree with the referee and how he stopped it, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. So I said before Dacus wasn't good. I said before I think he's trash as a you know, in terms of the level that he wants to get to. Never gonna happen. Looking at it, like I said, I thought that there was a little bit of a seed of growth that I saw, and maybe I was trying to also give benefit of the doubt because I know of the relationship that he and some other people have from that region with October Red. So maybe I'm trying to see the good in the guy as well. There's no good there. English level, that's where his level is. That's where his level is going to stay. At best, you're looking at fringe British, which ultimately means that you're going to now either be a gatekeeper to the guys coming up, or to like those young up and coming prospects, just to make sure that they are worthy of that English or that British title. So chances are you'll be the one competing for vacant English titles against other guys coming up moving forward, or you're going to be the step up that they have just before they fight for the British. If that's not the route that you want to go down, then I think the career's over, because I already know, and I've known this for a while, like Queensbury weren't actually happy with the signing after a certain period of time. They were looking to cancel that contract. He's not a very marketable guy in terms of like his personality outside the ring. Very quiet, just keeps to himself, which is not a bad thing. But if you're going to be that way outside the ring, you've got to be entertaining inside the ring, and that he most certainly isn't. No knockout power, no knockouts of note, no entertainment. He's not in, you know, back and forth scraps to give you a reason to put him back on the card. So while he may get an opportunity somewhere else, he might sign to GBM now or something like that. But in terms of like any big time promoters, the Matchrooms, even the boxers, you know, Queensbury, Wasserman, yeah, he's done now. So unless he hangs it up, be prepared to be a gatekeeper for the rest of the career. It's that simple. Straight after that, we had Lawrence Okolie versus Hussein Mohammed. Now, I mean, I did predict Lawrence would get the stoppage here. I predicted he'd get it in about I think I said between 5 and 7. Another first round KO. But this one, at least, you know, like Mohammed was going for it, and ultimately Lawrence has still retained some of the quickness that he had in terms of being fleet-footed and being able to move out of range. And the shot that he actually, because he hit Mohammed with a couple of pretty clean shots beforehand, but the shot that he actually caught him with to knock him out ultimately was actually a counter. Like Mohammed was the one that he lunged in outside of range to try and throw his straight right, and Lawrence obviously pulled out. It was almost like a pull counter, pulled back, and then as Mohammed missed, he just launched into it, bang, and then they even sort of clashed heads as Mohammed was on his way down. But it was a perfectly timed, a perfect right hand. The delivery system was immaculate. So yeah, look, Lawrence Okolie did well. We still don't know what he looks like truly at 260 pounds, because we had one round. Like there's no athlete in the world, out of shape or otherwise, that can't, you know, look spectacular for 3 minutes. You know, it just is what it is. So it wasn't a particularly high volume round as well, but we need to obviously see more from him. I still don't like the 260. I would have thought 245 would have been sort of the perfect type of he looks frumpy on the lower half of his body, but if he's comfortable at that weight and he can move at that weight, and you know he can box effectively, fine. But as I've said, I've been saying it on Twitter X for the last few hours. I want to see Lawrence Okolie and Martin Bakole. I need to see both of them. Okolie versus Bakole. I need to see. I've called it the battle of the uncles. If you know, you know. Some people might take offense to that. I don't care. That's what I want to see. It would be an hilarious matchup to look at, especially at the weigh-in. But yeah, that's the fight. But that would also be a very good fight for both guys. That's a credible scalp on both people's resumes, en route to potential world titles. So yeah, hopefully we can make that happen. But outside of that, look, there's a whole bunch of other fights in there for Lawrence, and he's announced himself fully at the full heavyweight division, even though Bridgerweight is technically heavyweight anyway. But yeah, he's announced himself. Let's kind of see what he does moving forward. But it was a great performance for that one round. And ironically, as much as we give Lawrence Okolie shit for hugging and Okolie and all of that sort of stuff, it was actually Hussein Mohammed that was desperate for the clinches after feeling some of those earlier jabs and whatnot in the fight. So, but yeah, it was one round, so it was what it was. There was a floater fight that happened after that. Don't really know or care particularly about that one. Then there was Sam Noakes against Ryan Walsh. And I think I predicted that. I said that Ryan Walsh would pretty much give Sam Noakes some hell in those first couple of rounds. But then a bit like the Amo Williams fight that he had with Hamza Shiraz, where he was giving Shiraz all he could handle for like the first 4 rounds, but then once Shiraz kind of just worked it out, got his time in, it just started to become a bit of a beatdown. And that's exactly the same thing that happened here. The only thing that didn't happen was that Sam Noakes actually got the stoppage, which I can't remember. I said I think he'll go distance. I said I think Ryan Walsh will get to the distance, but he'll just get broken down from the end. I don't think I predicted the stoppage, but if I did, I would have said it was extremely late on in the fight, like the last round or the second to last. But shout out to Ryan Walsh, very strong, very comfortable, very sort of comfortable in chaos, but took tremendous damage and probably should have been pulled out, but you know, the heart he's got, it was just never going to be the case. So that's kind of what happened with that. Then Brad Pauls and Denzel Bentley pretty much played out exactly as I had predicted, although I was surprised in those first few rounds Denzel was actually being the aggressor and walking Brad Pauls down and pushing Pauls onto the back foot. But Pauls came back into the fight and eventually the fight settled into the rhythm that I expected, where Pauls is going to be on the outside, he's going to try to ambush in, he's going to have some success doing that, but ultimately Denzel is going to be trying to find those moments to time him in between shots. And he caught those counters, especially in rounds like 10, 11 and 12 specifically, to the point where Pauls did have to take a knee in the 10th round. I think he got caught with a shot which fractured his orbital bone, but he carried on throughout the fight for the next 2.5 rounds. Shout out to him. Look, he's a tremendous warrior, but even the way that shot happened played out exactly as I said, where he's going to try to toggle between that come forward boxer puncher pressure fighter thing, but he's just not a natural pressure fighter. So when he comes in, he's going to come in crude and he's going to get caught with the counter, and that's exactly what happened. I think I said that I did predict that Denzel Bentley would get him out of there late. I think I said between rounds 9 and 11. I mean, yeah, 9, 10 and 11, I think I said. And obviously put him down in the 10th, but didn't quite able to get him out of there by that time. But the right person won, and it's the person who I predicted to win the fight. So shout out to Denzel Bentley. Now he's a European champion as well. EBU European titles on the line. He's got his British title back for the 3rd time. So I think that should now mean that he gets to hold it outright. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. But he's also now #1 in the WBO rankings. So we'll get an opportunity to fight Janny Beck again. Let's see if Janny Beck wants to take that work. And let's see if Denzel can do better than he did in the first fight between them. Now, let's move over quickly to the card that took place in Puerto Rico, which was headlined by Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchins. I didn't watch all of the undercard. I did see the Jalil Hackett fight, but I wasn't watching it like carefully scoring. But from what I did watch of the fight, to me it looked like he did win. It looked like he did well enough, but in those later rounds he definitely started to, you know, ship a lot more punishment. And maybe there must have been a couple of rounds prior to that he was sort of that his opponent was nicking. I've got to assume that who was it? Jose Ramon Vasquez. He must have just been nicking a few of those exchanges in the earlier rounds when I wasn't really paying attention. But look, he's going to have to go again. It was a split decision loss, so it wasn't the worst, but you know, apparently he didn't make the weight correctly. He's been taking liberties with the weight. 21, so he's still growing as a person, which means that he's got to pay even more attention to his discipline, or he's what I said on Twitter X, like he needs to move up, because even you just see the cheekbones and everything, like he's sucked in at that weight. He's very, very dry at that weight. And I feel like probably going to 154 will be a better option for him, but he's still got to be doing things correctly. So yeah, unfortunate for him that that's happened, but you know, it is what it is, and it means that he's now got something to come back from and achieve. I'm sure he'll get another opportunity. Who else was on that card? Yankiel Riviera was also on there. He got a TKO. I expected him to win. I thought he'd go points, but he actually ended up with the TKO stoppage. I haven't actually seen that yet, but I'm going to go back and have a look at that. Mark Castro lost. I didn't even give a prediction on that one. Didn't really care about the fight, and I've kind of lost interest in Mark Castro from about 5 fights ago, if I'm honest. 5-6 fights ago, he did the thing where he was just being packaged up with Canelo Alvarez. I didn't really like, plus the fact that he looks like Elon Musk kind of put me off a bit as well, but that's by the by. Henry LeBron got a unanimous decision win over Christopher Diaz Velez. I didn't watch the whole fight, so I can only kind of give you the thoughts that I saw from the last couple of rounds, where LeBron was kind of just moving about, boxing and moving off the ropes. At that point, I'm assuming he must have just felt, okay, the fight's in the bag, just got to stay away. One card, I think there was 2 cards that was 97, 93, and I think one was 96, 94. They was all to him, so he moves on, but now he's 20-0, 10 KOs, so everyone knows necessarily he hasn't got the punching power to maybe cause the biggest of problems, but you know, he will, you know, if you can get him the right fights and the right learning, that doesn't mean that he can't still do something and be a champion down the line. But I didn't watch enough of it, but I probably do need to see a bit more from Henry. I think that's the second fight in a row. I haven't been hugely impressed with what I've seen, but you know, there's still time to go. But look, let's look at the main event there. Liam Paro versus Richardson Hitchins. I predicted Hitchins will win the fight. The fight played out almost exactly as I predicted it would. I did say that ultimately the problem with this is Liam Paro is not a pressure fighter. So he's a boxer puncher. He's going to look to try and set shots up. He's going to try to box from the outside to get his way to the inside, throw a couple of shots and get back out, similar to what he did with obviously Subriel Matias. But with Richardson Hitchins being a definitive pure boxer, someone that's going to be very economic with the way he lets his shots go, only really going to take those opportunities when he sees them perfect. He's going to look for his timings from early, using those early rounds, and then he's just going to try to control the later rounds with the jab in playing the backhand once he's got the full measure. I pretty much said all of that in the basis picks, and it played out exactly as I thought it would. And I think I even said that he would win the fight via a split decision. However, it was not a split decision, and the referee Nelson Vasquez, who gave it 117-111 to Liam Paro, I think he needs firing. That's not, and what they said on the broadcast is that's not the first time he's given them suspect scorecards as well, those quote-unquote home cooking scorecards. He clearly doesn't know what he's looking at or what he's watching from ringside or even from a TV monitor, however he's doing it. So yeah, no more Nelson Vasquez, because that was horrendous. Even Paro's team like was looking, when they said 117-111 to Paro, even they were looking around like, wow, are they going to give it to us, kind of thing. They knew, they were expecting, they were asking, is it possible that maybe we eked out a draw? And it is like, oof, I don't think so. So that's what they were expecting at best, 6 rounds. So to give them 9, yeah, no, horrid. But Hitchins got 116-112 on the other 2 scorecards, which was I feel like a good scorecard. 115-113, 116-112 were both scorecards I could agree with. I couldn't even say that Hitchins was a 117-111 in that fight. So, but he did win quite conclusively, and as soon as he found the range to employ the backhand, like that's when the fight basically just became his fight. And the only way that you're going to get him off of that game plan is you have to employ mad pressure from early, when he's going to have to start throwing that shot before he's actually got the range and the timing, throwing before he's ready, which is ultimately going to then tire him out. Once he had the opportunity to sit on the back foot, you know, circle the ring and find the angle, find the tells, and then just exploit them. Nightmare. But yeah, shout out to Richardson Hitchins. Predicted that one, so it played out exactly as I expected. And even though the scorecard was horrendous, I also predicted it would be a split decision as well. So yeah, shout out to him. Now, move over to the top rank card. Now, I haven't seen all of the undercard, and I need to watch those, but I know that card ended up finishing a lot later than the Puerto Rico card did. But I do know, obviously, the main two, the two fights and the main events. Obviously, I'm going to talk about those. But I guess just before I go on that one, I want to talk about the I didn't see it, Richard Torres Jr. versus Isaac Munoz Gutierrez. Now, I said I thought this fight was gonna Richard was gonna basically be in war, be in hell throughout this fight, based on what happened in the Jermaine Franklin fight. Now, that being said, Richard, I think, hits harder than Jermaine, plus he's a lot more he's a lot busier, so I haven't seen it to find out if it was a clean knockout, if it was an accumulation thing, if he took a bunch of unanswered punches and then the ref jumped in. I don't know how it played out, but Torres won the fight. I'm definitely going to go back and watch that fight, because, as I said, he's one of my, in terms of fighters, he's one of my guilty pleasure fighters. I do love to watch Richard Torres Jr. In the ring, and I feel like he's gonna be right up there at the world level. He's probably gonna be like one of those guys, those greatest guys never to win a world title. That's kind of the route that I'm looking at when I see him, if I'm being honest. Actually, now that I think about it, he could be a little bit like, who am I thinking of? He could be a little bit like David Tua. To me, I think David Tua was one of the best fighters never to win a world title, especially in like the recent times. So that actually could be a shout now I think about it. But yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, shout out to Richard Torres. Brilliant win, I suppose, because I looked at Munoz before and I was really sort of high on him. In terms of Giovanni Santillán against Frederick Lawson, I predicted that would be a KO. But I thought he would do it in about 4 or 5 rounds. I think Lawson, from what I heard, he got retired in the corner after the first round. I haven't seen it, don't know what happened, but yeah, I guess that's the end of Frederick Lawson. But Santillán's back in the winner's bracket. Let's see what he does moving forward. Lindolfo Delgado against Jackson Marinez. I predicted he would get the stoppage victory, and I think I said it would be around the sort of rounds 5 to 6. So again, got that one spot on. Haven't seen it yet, but I do want to watch it because I do like watching Lindolfo Delgado. Then we get to Rafael Espinoza versus Robeisy Ramirez. Now, I'd said that in this fight, I believe that Rafael Espinoza, especially knowing what he did in the first one, knowing how that fight was, that he would basically make this fight a lot more conclusive and he would stop Robeisy Ramirez. He would get the knockout / stoppage, but I predicted it would be around about the 9th round. Well, it ended up happening in the 6th, but prior to that, it was actually Robeisy Ramirez that was having the better of the fight. So I don't particularly know exactly what was going on with Rafael in those first couple of rounds, but it's almost like something just switched on after the 3rd or 4th. He just said, "Nah, you know what? I'm not about to just have you boxing. Like, let's have a fight and let's see who wins that fight." Robeisy Ramirez was complaining about heads, complaining about sort of the tape on the gloves, was complaining about some elbows that was going in. I mean, look, there were some slight framings with the forearm / elbow at points. I think also because of the height differential, sometimes when you're trying to get you're getting yourself into a certain angle that you're used to with someone who's a lot shorter, maybe you're catching them in areas that you wouldn't normally catch someone of a different height. I don't know. I didn't really feel like there was enough to kind of do all the complaining, but what I did see, and ultimately this is kind of what stopped the fight. He complained about the elbows and the forearms and all that stuff, but in the he got hit with a jab. I think it was a jab in the Oh yeah, it was a jab from the southpaw stance. He got hit with a jab in the 6th round, and as soon as he got that jab, he turned around, lifted up his hand and said, no more. He clearly, and you saw, basically, we know it was a broken orbital bone. Like, you could see it quite clearly straight after the way it swelled up. We've seen that injury so many times now, you kind of know exactly when you watch a broken orbital. I mean, the way he turned around and basically said no mas was weird, because it's not even like, oh, I got caught with the elbow in that particular shot and now I'm complaining. But yeah, turned his back, walked, hand up, and the referee had no choice but to wave it off. So shout out to Rafael Espinoza, did it quicker than I was expecting him to do. I'd love to see a unification now. Him and Ray Vargas would be brilliant. Him and Nick Bull would be an absolute like carnage fest, and I don't know if Nick Bull actually wins that one, I'm gonna be real, but I'd like to see the two tall men get it on, and then I would like to see Angelo Leo and Nick Bull get it on, and then you have Little and Large in the finals for Undisputed. That would be brilliant for me. But yeah, well, I guess we'll wait and see how that ultimately plays out. Main event. Now, I've seen parts of it, but I was falling asleep when this fight was happening, so I've seen like bits and pieces of the rounds. But ultimately, I thought that Oscar Valdez would get his revenge on this one. Navarrete hadn't been looking that good as of late. You know, some of the advantages he had from previously, I felt weren't really there anymore. So I was expecting that ultimately Oscar Valdez would be able to make the necessary adjustments, especially having been in there the first time, and just be able to, you know, basically control this fight and end up winning on a points decision, possibly a split. Well, again, horribly wrong. The thing is, Oscar Valdez had the correct game plan going into the fight. It was actually a very good game plan, and he knew kind of what to do. Just unfortunately, he still couldn't get around the unorthodox nature of Emmanuel Navarrete, plus the fact that Navarrete is just huge to him. Now, even though he's too small for 135, he's a big 130, whereas someone like Oscar Valdez realistically is a 126 guy. Like, he's a much smaller guy. So just he's got a reach, I think, of like Oscar Valdez has got a reach of like 66 inches, and Valdez is like 72. So all of that just means getting to punch from off range, getting to punch from out of range. When Oscar's out of range, he's still getting caught with shots. Went down in the first round. I think he got dropped in the 4th and then got dropped in the 6th, up until the point where the referee waved it off. Big congrats to him though. I mean, look, he stuck in there, took his beating, was never willing to quit or capitulate, said I don't want it no more. But ultimately that was it. Too big, too strong, and too unorthodox, and maybe just too fresh still. Like, even though he's had a lot of wars and whatnot, Navarrete's been in a lot of fights, he still is the fresher of the two, whereas, you know, Valdez has had, you know, the long amateur career as well. Yeah, so look, it is what it is. Emmanuel Navarrete, it was repeat, so I got that one wrong. So overall, in the I think I got 3 wrong overall for the entire weekend, which is actually pretty good. Jalil Hackett, I definitely got that one wrong. But I did say he's a car crash waiting to happen, but it's a fun ride while you're watching, which is apropos. But it wasn't the car crash nature that ultimately got him beaten. This is probably the gas tank thing, which again, I haven't seen all of it, but from what I saw, it looked like he was edging it to me. So can't really say too much about that. But there was that one, Solomon Dacus and Oscar Valdez, but everything else spot on. Even methods was spot on. So yeah, shout out. I feel good about that one. Now, with that being said, there's probably other stuff to kind of talk about, but we're just focusing on the fights at this point, and yeah, there's way too much to go over. So look, more videos will be coming throughout the week. We're going to try and unpack some stuff that's happened over this weekend, any cool talking points. I'm sure either by now or by the time you've watched this, you hopefully should have seen Fight Talk Live. If you haven't seen that, go over to the Fight Talk Live channel. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below to go and watch the latest episode that myself, October Red, Danny Glover and Maestro have done with regards to this weekend's card, plus everything else that has kind of happened over the last couple of weekends since we've been on. So yeah, look, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. That's the weekend wrapped up, and I will catch you on the next one. But until then, peace.